Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. I hope that devotees don't object. Rather than continuing the Bhagavatam verses, because Kirtan Mela is beginning, then I was asked to give something that was Kirtan related, and so the verse and the readings are from Brihad Bhagavatamrita, which is ultimately Srimad Bhagavatam in a very essential form. And I'll read from this book. How many devotees have got this book, Brihad Bhagavatamrita? Some, not many. It's an extraordinary book that I would really recommend to devotees who want to really study in very concise, explicit detail the essence of Srimad Bhagavatam and ultimately what Krishna consciousness is about. This book is for you. It's written in, for those of you who speak English, it's written in exceptional quality English, beautifully produced, and Hare Krishna, let's get on with it. So if you don't have it, get it. If you haven't read it, read it. It's wonderful literature. And here's a verse. There is the reason I selected this comes from the second part. Brihad Bhagavatamrita has two parts. This is from the second part. This is the third chapter, which is called Bhajan. Krishna says, Bhajate mam ananyavat. We call it sadhana bhakti. We don't so often use the word bhajan, but you find it in the Bhagavad Gita on several occasions. And bhajan ultimately means the process of worship. And this verse is being spoken by the Vaikuntha Judas. The setting, which is very important for context and a real understanding, is Mahakalapur, which is really the Brahma Jyoti, although it doesn't seem as Jyoti or as effulgent as sometimes we think. Sometimes it's described as actually being a special kind of darkness, which is akin to the hue of Krishna's body. And this is where Gopkumar is. He's the hero of this part of the book. And Gopkumar is the typical searcher. He represents us. We're all here because we're searching for perfection. Of course, we're not searching. We've already found it. Now we're on the path. And he's on the path to perfection. And he gets as far as the platform of liberation. And while he's there, he meets Lord Shiva and his associates and receives instructions from them. And here this verse is being spoken by Vaikuntha Judas. There's some Vaikuntha Judas who, well, they came specially to instruct him, but they were on their way down to the material world to preach. And they're telling Gopakumar, who's already very pious. He was already born in Govardhan, so he's not an ordinary person. And he has a very exceptional spiritual master who's given him a mantra. And by chanting this mantra, just like we're chanting Hare Krishna, he's advancing, and he's advancing spiritually, and he's also going to different stages of attainment, which are both represented and in reality different parts of first the material world, the universe, and then beyond the universe. Now he's gone past the coverings of the universe and he's gone into the realm of liberation, which successful yogis and gyanis may attain. And the interesting thing is that he's chanting his mantra. He has great faith in his mantra. He's very pure-hearted. He's very, very strict. But more or less what the Vaikuntha Judas tell him is, this is as far as you go. With what you're doing, this is as far as you get. But anyway, let's talk a little more about that. I'm going to try and read some other verses. But let's chant this verse first, which is at the conclusion of this chapter on worship. And the Vaikuntha Judas now conclude their instruction to Gop Kumar in the following verse. Shriman Nama Prabhostasya Shri Murtir Apyati Priyam Jagadditam Sukopasham Sarasam Tat Samam Nahi Shriman Nama Prabhostasya Shri Murtir Apyati Priyam Jagadditam Sukopasham Sarasam Tat Samam Nahi. Shriman Rama Prabhotasya Shri Murtirapyati Priyam Jagadditam Sukopasyam Darsam Tat Samam Nahi. Some ladies, I don't know if you can see over here. Prabhotasya Shri Murtirapyati Priyam Jagadditam Sukopasyam Sarasam Tat Samam Nahi. Shriman Nama Prabhotasya Shri Murtirapyati Priyam Jagadditam Sukopasyam Shrimat Nama, the holy name, Prabhu, of the Lord, Tasya, his, Shri Murti, then the divine form, Api, even, Ati Priyam, more dear, Jagat, for the whole world, Hitam, beneficial, Shuka, easily, Upasyam, worshipable, Sarasam, full of rasa, Tat, to that, Samam, equal, Na, nothing, He, indeed. Translation. And of course, this book was translated, commented upon by the late Gopi Paranadhan Prabhu, Srila Prabhupada's disciple, a really great Vaishnava and extraordinary scholar. Unfortunately, he's no longer with us, having left this world at Govardhan. And his commentary is a combination. Sanatana Goswami wrote this book, and he also commented upon the book himself. And the commentary that we read here is Sanatana Goswami's commentary with some elaboration highlights by Gopi Pranadhan Prabhu. Commentary. I won't read the whole thing. I'll read some of it and then refer to some of it. In conclusion, the Vaikuntha Dutas wholeheartedly glorify Sri Bhagavan Nama Sankirtana. Sankirtan is all attractive, full with all power, beauty and opulence. It exerts its powerful influence over anyone who takes part in it, anywhere and any time. The Lord of Vaikuntha himself is more attracted to his holy name than to his own supreme beauty. The Supreme Lord may indeed regard something as more dear than his own transcendental form. For example, in Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th canto, Krishna told Uddhava, "Neither Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, Lord Shankarshan, the goddess of fortune, nor indeed my own self is as dear to me as you." The holy name of the Lord is incomparable. Nothing else can equal or surpass it. The holy name is the Lord's supreme blessing for the whole world's welfare, benefiting everyone, properly qualified or not, who serves it with any of the senses. It is easily worshipped, requiring only some movement of the tip of the tongue, and it is sarasa, full of rasa, a term that can be understood in several ways. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Shri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. The commentary continues, but because Gopi Pranadhan Prabhu, Sanatana Goswami make certain points which come quickly in sequence one after the other, I'll just refer to them in a more gradual way. Once again, the verse, "Dearer to the Lord than even his own beautiful form, his easily worshipped holy name benefits the entire world. Indeed, nothing is as full of nectar as the holy name of the Lord." So here the focus will be on the meaning of this word sarasam, and the verse in itself is self-explanatory. In his play Lalita Madhava, Rupa Goswami tells a story which is also cited in Bhagavatamrita Sindhu of Lord Krishna in his new Vrindavan in Dwarkadish, walking past these are all covered now, but walking past a marble pillar. And highly polished marble is like a mirror. And when he sees the reflection of himself in the pillar, he stops and becomes completely mesmerized. And he says, "Who is this? Who is this beautiful person?" In other words, he even loses the nature of Krishna's attractive form is so powerful that it bewilders Krishna, and he says, "I want to just embrace this form and relate to it, just as in the way as Srimati Radharani does." So, and of course, that type of mood is one of the reasons for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance. Here, the statement of the Vaikuntha Dutas is that as attractive as Krishna's form is to him, so even more attractive is Krishna's name to him. Krishna is even more attracted to his name. In his Namamrita, Rupa Goswami also explains how Krishna's name is more merciful than Krishna himself, because the holy name of the Lord forgives offenses, although it takes time, but it forgives offenses committed to both itself as well as to Krishna. So this is being stated here, and the Vaikuntha Judas say, and this holy name is Sa Rasa. It is full of rasa. And the importance of this word rasa is, I'm just going to go back to the beginning of the conversation. This is verse 184, and I'm at 110. So there's about 60, probably more, about 70 verses which directly glorify the holy name, which directly glorify Nam Sankirtan. And that's why it's so important, because even in 6th canto, which is about chanting the holy name of the Lord, especially, of course, the Ajamil part, nonetheless, the type of elaborate exposition that you find here is really outstanding. And that's why I'm going to refer to the beginning, because as I mentioned earlier, that Gopkumar, by chanting his mantra, as we're chanting Hare Krishna mantra, so you can put yourself in his place, he's gotten out of this material world and he's gotten to the realm of liberation, but he wants to keep going, because he's not chanting the Mahamantra, he's chanting a form of the Gopal mantra, what our initiated Brahmins chant, not exactly the same one, but sort of another version of it, in which he's Gopal, he's looking for Gopal. And that's his quest. His quest is to attain Gopal's eternal service. But the Vaikuntha Dutas tell him this when they meet him. This says, accept as true that we have come here only for your sake, and please hear what is beneficial for you. If you want to reach Vaikuntha, then give up everything, and with pure love, practice the 9 forms of devotional service. In other words, in short, they say, and then in the commentary it says, giving up everything means that he should be ready to leave Mahakalapur, and he should give attachment to his formal chanting, the way that he was chanting. His chanting out of duty should transform into ecstatic Nam Sankirtan, Sarasa, in which the enthusiasm of his love for Madan Gopal Dev would be directed into the 9 methods of pure bhakti. So in other words, the Vaikuntha Judas say, by chanting Hare Krishna, this is as far as you're getting when you're just chanting it out of duty. I got to chant my 16 rounds. I have to attend the morning program. I have to do my sadhana. He says this type of chanting has limited result, limited benefit. It will get you to liberation, but if you want to go to Vaikuntha, then you have to do more. And they say, what do you have to do more? You have to stop this formal, or at least you have to transform this formal chanting into ecstatic chanting. Okay, but he doesn't leave they don't leave Gopkumar just hanging there, but they tell him, how does that chanting come about? He says, honor the Bhagavatam and other scriptures that tell about this devotional service. Hear from them regularly about the Lord's pastimes, for when those narrations enter the holes of your ears, you relish them with love, they will swiftly award you the Lord's abode. So it's very interesting. Gopkumar he's an extraordinarily pious person because he's born in Govardhan. He's got great faith in his guru. He's chanting his mantra, he's getting all these attainments, but the interesting thing is, he doesn't really know much about Krishna consciousness. He's not educated. He's a simple cowherd boy. So, as Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Bahavo Jnana Tapasa Putramad Bhavamagata. The same thing here, Vaikuntha Judas say, if you actually want to attain this bhava, or this rasa, as this verse says, and we'll go back to this verse. If you want to attain this rasa by which you get to Vaikuntha, then you're going to have to hear Srimad Bhagavatam. You're going to have to understand the process of devotional service. You have to have Gyan. Gyan meaning you have to know the science of Bhakti Yoga. You have to understand Sambandha Gyan, Abhideya, Prayojana. You have to understand the principles of devotional service. Just chanting is not enough. Or it may be enough, but it's going to take you a long time before that knowledge of devotional service becomes manifest if you don't make extraneous effort. So they're saying, and Sanatana Goswami in the purport explains, it means also associate with Vaishnavas, associate with more advanced Vaishnavas, and understand what is your relationship with this Gopal, what is he really doing, what is his nature, what is his features, what are his pastimes. Hear about these things. These things ultimately, in combination with your chanting, they will transform your chanting into chanting with ecstasy, and ultimately chanting with ecstasy will transform into chanting with love. So when we talk about sarasam, this is that type of chanting, that sarasa, and then let me just go to the different meanings that Sanatana Goswami gives for this verse. Sanatana Goswami is really extraordinary in terms of his commentaries. Of course, here is on his own book, although it should be known that Sanatana Goswami says this Brihad Bhagavatamrita was revealed to him. He didn't just sit down and think up of a good storyline. But this is all revelation. This is a history that took place. These are historical events that are revealed to him by Jaimini Rishi, by the grace of Jaimini Rishi, Keshav Bharati Maharaj and Jayadvaita Maharaj, all the editors, they're sitting back there. They did a extraordinary job on this book. And Jaimini Rishi's grace, Sanatana Goswami wrote, and Sanatana Goswami here and elsewhere, when he gives commentaries on 10th canto, then he always says Jadvat, 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 or it can be understood like this, or it can be understood like that, or it can be understood in different ways. In other words, there are many meanings to scriptural statements, which interestingly have the same siddhanta, the same conclusion, lead you to the same place, but through different paths. I'll just go to sarasam, and then hopefully we can. So Sanatana Goswami gives 9 meanings for what this word sarasa is, and they're helpful for us because here is we're always chanting Hare Krishna, but now we're going to have a festival of Nam Sankirtan. What is the mood? What is the bhav? Bhava jnana tapasa putramad bhava. A devotional service has an underlying bhav, has an underlying mood. And to connect with that mood, he gives us different meanings of what these moods actually mean or what they imply. He says one is that sarasa means, in other words, the holy name of Krishna, which interestingly here it says Shriman. Shriman is a very respectful address. Shriman Nama is very gentle. It's very gentle. Wouldn't expect it to be the first thing, but he's saying that the holy name of the Lord is very gentle, and gentle paints a picture of someone who's very easily approachable, someone who's very kind. So this is Krishna's holy name. And, of course, rasa also means that it is composed of spiritual substance, or Sat Chit Ananda. Namas Chintamani Nityas. So Krishna's name is Chintamani. What is the next line? Nam Chintamani Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha. Purna Shuddha. Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha. So it is actually the form, the concentrated form, the essential form of transcendental consciousness, of all spiritual potency. So it is a transcendental thing. The conversation, aside from, or that's included in the glorification of Nam Sankirtan, has 2 additional themes. The main theme is that the Vaikuntha Dutas emphasize the superiority of chanting aloud and serving the Lord with one's senses over the process of meditation, which Gopkumar came in contact with when he was up in Tapaloka and met with the Kumaras, who told him that if you want to really control your mind and see the Lord, then just learn how to meditate. You sit down, you close your eyes, you absorb in meditation. And not only once, but they come back a second time. Vaikuntha return to emphasize the fact, no, it's better to engage in devotional service with one's senses. Rishikena, Rishikesha, Sevanam, Bhakti, Ruchate. And of the best types of devotional service, Nam Sankirtan is unique. It is the best devotional activity. But, and their other points are, that devotional service is not a material activity. I believe it's either the introduction or somewhere in the beginning of Nectar of Devotion, Srila Prabhupada also starts off. In other words, devotional service is once again the devotion or the mood by which one performs an activity. The activity in itself is not necessarily devotional service. To the extent that Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that the name that you're chanting may not be the name of Krishna. In other words, the letters that you're mouthing don't necessarily contain the letters of Krishna. It requires a certain consciousness, Krishna consciousness, in order to transform those letters into Krishna's name. The third, he says, that the holy names are accompanied by all the rasas, which is a natural understanding, that they're accompanied by all the different relationships, which is headed by, here he says, Shringar Rasa. So whether one is aspiring in a relationship of friendship with Krishna, or a conjugal relationship, or a parental relationship, the holy name is like that. Chintamani, Nam is Chintamani, Krishna, it is Chintamani. Whatever you want, it will give you. The fourth is, and in two moods, that is in the mood of meeting, and also in the mood of separation. So, of course, generally, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has taught us to chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra in the mood of separation. And Shikshashtakam describes this mood of separation. Shunyaitam jagat sarvam govinda virahe manvi. So this mood of separation, but by chanting Hare Krishna, ultimately one feels Krishna's presence, and as they describe here, ultimately one sees Krishna. In fact, they say this is the goal of chanting, to see Krishna. It becomes the result. It isn't that we should just chant to see Krishna, we should chant to glorify Krishna, but ultimately the benefit of that will be to be able to perceive the Lord. And then that chanting goes on, and it goes on in a mood of meeting. The fifth meaning is that rasa also means attraction to Krishna, or it means raga. So by chanting, one develops attachment in very preliminary stages. We're all here, hundreds of Vaishnavis, all with different, unique stages of devotional service, but we have, amongst other things in common, one thing in common is that we're attracted to chanting Hare Krishna, otherwise you wouldn't be here. So, but where does the attraction to chanting Hare Krishna come? It comes from the holy name of the Lord. It comes from this. Of course, other things contribute to that, the association of Vaishnavas, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, but by chanting, we've developed a taste for chanting. And the more one chants properly, especially without offense, the more the taste for that chanting increases. So it inspires everyone to become attached to the holy name and to become attached to Krishna. If you're becoming attached to Krishna's name, you're becoming attached to Krishna. That was number 6. Rasa also means special potency. In other words, this is the Yuga Dharma. It is especially empowered. Over and above all other devotional practices, Nam Sankirtan reigns supreme. Sanatana Goswami in his Sandarbha explains that all the other limbs, all the other angas of devotional service must be accompanied by Nam Sankirtan, in order to quickly and fully give their result. Just like Archana. Well, we're worshipping the deity, but how do we worship the deity? Always with kirtan, and never just without that. And with mantras that glorify. So it's very powerful. And number 7, it has exceptional quality. The holy name has an exceptional quality, sarasa. And Sanatana Goswami says, what is this exceptional quality of the holy name? Is that it has the potency to deliver the most fallen. Here we are. So, the most fallen, and how is it? What did Srila Prabhupada do? 50 years ago, Srila Prabhupada walked out into Thompson Square Park, and he chanted Hare Krishna. And he was really in the most fallen part of the most fallen city, amongst the most fallen people, and by chanting Hare Krishna, is Panchatattva, here's Sridham Mayapur, here's the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, and here we are. And it's just from chanting Hare Krishna. And that's all Prabhupada did. And he just chanted. And for Srila Prabhupada's disciples, they all have experience of how long Srila Prabhupada held class. By this time, Prabhupada's class would have been over. 20, 30 minutes, 40 minutes. Maybe it was because very often many of us were falling asleep. But Prabhupada's emphasis was, all right, just chant Hare Krishna. Chant, we did. We didn't fall asleep chanting Hare Krishna. But Srila Prabhupada gave such extraordinary emphasis, and therefore here we are. So that special potency of the holy name is there to actually deliver the most fallen. 8 is that Sukha Vishesh. Krishna says, what does Krishna say in the ninth canto? Shukam avyayam, that it is very joyfully performed. So there's a special bliss in chanting Hare Krishna, an easily attained bliss. We use the word bliss. It's not technically speaking ananda that we're experiencing, real transcendental bliss, but we're certainly experiencing happiness. When devotees chant, when they chant together, when we chant individually, either doing our japa, we feel happy. The fact that our minds cause us so much problem has nothing to do with the holy name. That's got to do with us. But the holy name gives us great pleasure. And we taste that pleasure without obstruction when we overcome the influence of our minds. And we're able to actually move forward. And finally, the 9th one is sarasam, exceptional sweetness. The holy name is very sweet. And there are many verses. This is a well-known verse. It's so well known that I have to prompt myself to read it. It's just from the Skanda Purana. Madhura Madhurameta Mangala Mangalanam Sakala Nigamavalis Satpalam Chit Swarupam. And it goes on. O best of Bhrigu dynasty, the holy name of Krishna is the sweetest of sweet, the most auspicious of the auspicious. This transcendental fruit of the Vedas is purely spiritual. Whoever chants it but once, whether with faith or with contempt, is liberated. So Sanatana Goswami concludes there are more meanings to the word rasa, but he just says that this should give us an understanding of the greatness of Nam Sankirtan and the understanding, the tattva behind chanting Sankirtan is what, as I referred to originally, what the Vaikuntha Dutas are telling Gop Kumar, you got to know what you're chanting. You have to know what it's about. You have to understand, as Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, you have to know the sambandha, gyan behind the holy name. You have to understand the principles underlying it, the methodology. You have to know what are the offenses that obstruct the result. Although Gop Kumar was not committing any offenses. And you have to be versed in what the goal of chanting is. But let me read a few more of those verses that the Vaikuntha Dutas tell Gop Kumar. He tells them where to chant. He says, if you're in a hurry to to see the divine world of Vaikuntha, we're trying to go back to Godhead, then go to Sri Brajabhumi, the place that can best award the fulfillment of your ambitions. As Rupa Goswami says, Brajagami, Anugami, that if you want actually to practice devotional service, you should be living in Vrindavan. Now we're in Vrindavan, we're in Sridham Mayapur. So this is the best place. And as Prabhupada has elaborated other times, if physically you cannot live in Vrindavan, and for a preaching moment, obviously, we cannot do that. We have to live in other places. But in our consciousness, we should be living in Vrindavan, or at least make our environment such, and that's why Srila Prabhupada said our temples are like Vaikuntha, our temples are Goloka Vrindavan. So they say, that's where you should chant. And then how you should chant? Simply practice pure devotional service, mainly the form of Nam Sankirtan, with the hope of gaining eternal contact of the Lord's divine lotus feet. When Rupa Goswami is defining sadhana bhakti, he says, Kriti sadyat bhavet sadya bhava sadhanavida. He says, sadhan are those activities by which one desires to attain bhava. Every sadhan has to have a sadhya. So you define the practice by what's the result of that practice. Well, he says the result of sadhan is bhava. Those activities, those devotional activities by which one desires to attain ecstatic love for Krishna. And then from ecstasy one attains love for Krishna. So he said, this is how you should chant. Yes, that we want to gain eternal contact with the Lord's lotus feet. And what will be the result? By that devotional service, you will soon realize the treasure of prema, and you will easily see Krishna in Vaikuntha. The Vaikuntha Judas are Vaikuntha Bhaktas, but they're also clearly tuned in to what's going on in Goloka Vrindavan, and they're constantly using the word Krishna. They're talking about Krishna here, and they know where Gop Kumar wants to go. Then they talk about how this Prema Sankirtan goes on. He says, of the many ways to chant Krishna's glories, because you can chant, just like when we chant, Yashomati Nandana Vrajavarana Gokula Ranjana, Krishna's names. We're chanting different names of Krishna. There's Nam Sankirtan. You can be chanting Leela Sankirtan. You can be chanting about Krishna's pastimes. You can be chanting about Krishna's form, Krishna's qualities. But the best Sankirtan is chanting Krishna's name. So he says, amongst the many ways of chanting Krishna's glory, foremost is Nam Sankirtan. It is deemed the best because it can evoke at once the treasure of pure love. When relished with love, in countless ways through service rendered constantly by the tongue, the nectar, sarasam, of Sri Krishna's name delights the heart who can describe the unequaled, delights the heart, period. Who can describe the unequaled excellence of that nectar of Sri Krishna's holy name? Though all the names of the Lord, and this is very interesting here, it shows the liberality which is there in chanting Hare Krishna. Though all the names of the Lord are equally great, a devotee most quickly and easily achieves his goals by chanting the name that he himself holds most dear. In other words, devotees may hold more dear. Someone may be more attracted to chanting Jai Radha Madhava, meaning Madhava's name. Meaning Shamasundar's name, so many names of Krishna. They say, you can chant any name. Of course, we're chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra because this is the Mahamantra, this is what's given to us, but aside from that, there's no restriction. This is also our Diksha Nam mantra that we're chanting. Since people have different tastes, each name of the Lord is dear to one person or another. All the names of the Lord are therefore dear. When the nectar of the Lord's name appears in just one sense, all the senses are flooded with their own sweet tastes. So here the superiority, or this is the effect of chanting Hare Krishna. Because obviously it's not just our tongues that are tasting. Our ears are hearing it. And your mind is absorbed in that vibration. Actually, our senses are engaged. We're clapping our hands. We're playing instruments. Or, you see, devotees are obviously the getting up and dancing and chanting. And that really engages all of your senses of the body. Sankirtan is something that is electrifying. And let me read this very beautiful verse. Appearing mainly in the sense of speech, the Lord's name gives pleasure to the chanter and to others. So even greater than meditation on the Lord is his Nam Sankirtan. Once again, they return to this emphasizing Nam Sankirtan. And what is the connection? Is chanting Hare Krishna something that we're just doing as a sadhana, and at some certain point, when one attains perfection, attains the goal, then he leaves it behind? No, not at all. Actually, the symptom of someone who's perfected chanting Hare Krishna is that he can't stop chanting Hare Krishna. Because Nam Sankirtan invariably leads to the treasure of pure love of the Lord, true connoisseurs of devotional service consider Nam Sankirtan the very fruit of bhakti. According to some knowers of rasa, the real sign of a person full of prema, someone who's attained love, is this. As he performs Sankirtan of the name he worships, the full force of spiritual agony erupts in him by the weight of his own love. So someone who has attained love of Godhead, the symptom that he's attained love of Godhead is that he continues to chant Sankirtan. But the nature of that Sankirtan, or the type of Sankirtan, it's called Prema Sankirtana. And in Chaitanya Charitamrita, you have a reference to this Prema Sankirtan when Maharaj Pataparudra, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya are on top of the palace, and they're seeing at a distance the residents of Navadvip coming, as they do every year, to Jagannath Puri for Rath Yatra. And Maharaj Pataparudra says, he says, what is this sound? Now, he's a Vaishnava, so he knows what Sankirtan is all about. He says, what is this sound? I've never heard such a sound before. And so Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya says, this Sankirtan that you're hearing is called Prema Sankirtan. It is a special type of Sankirtan when all of the participants, or many of the participants, are absorbed in the love of Godhead. This becomes the fruit of Prema, the Sankirtan that comes as a fruit of Prema. This is what you're hearing. And this is the type of Sankirtan that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's eternal associates chant. I think I'm going to just stop there. I was looking for another verse that I can't find, but essentially it says, chanting Nam Sankirtan is like a mystical mantra, that it draws Krishna near. So, you can use certain mantras, just like, for instance, if someone is bitten by a snake, a good snake charmer can call that snake back to take out the poison he has to be a good snake charmer, to take out the poison out of the person that he's bitten. So mantras have a potency, they draw, or you want to achieve some particular thing, by the chanting of a mantra, that result will come. What's the result of chanting Hare Krishna? You draw Krishna closer and closer. And the more that our chanting becomes sarasa, becomes suffused with this type of mellow of devotional service, which comes as a consequence of knowing the principles of devotional service, putting them into practice, purifying our heart, then Krishna draws near. Therefore, and then once again they conclude, therefore, honoring the order of Lord Shiva, you should leave this place at once, go to divine Mathura, the place most dear to Krishna. O Mathura, we bow down to you. So Gopkumar, at that point, well, chapter concludes, upon drinking this invigorating tonic for the ears and heart, I was filled with delight. I bowed down to the messengers from Vaikuntha and to Lord Shiva and his wife, and by their grace I was swept at once to this Brajabhumi. Oh, how my mind was stunned. So, here the message that we received from Vaikuntha Dutas and Sanatana Goswami, that dutifully chanting Hare Krishna is good, and that's where we start. But ultimately that chanting needs to be enriched. It needs to be enriched with the proper moods of chanting, which are represented or described by some of the meanings of this word, sarasa. And those moods of chanting become manifest the more one applies oneself to the science of devotional service. It wasn't enough that Gop Kumar was in one sense actually already a pure devotee, that he was pure-hearted, he had no bad habits, he wasn't sinful. He also had to have, it's not enough not to have anything bad, it has to be proactive, it has to be positive. One has to take advantage of for us, the transcendental literature that Srila Prabhupada has labored so hard. If they were not needed, all Prabhupada would have had to do is just chant Hare Krishna. He wouldn't have had to get up at midnight to write Srimad Bhagavatam. Why? For what purpose? If chanting Hare Krishna on its own, then Prabhupada could have just came, chanted, told everyone, all you have to do is just chant Hare Krishna and everything comes. But no, Prabhupada also presented his books to us. And he was very upset when he saw that his devotees weren't studying his books, reading his books, from all angles of vision. So if we want our chanting to really achieve its success, then we have to recognize that this is certainly the Srila Prabhupada's labor of love for us, the literatures that Prabhupada left behind, and Brihad Bhagavatamrita is one book that Srila Prabhupada gives reference to, so yes, it should be read. But at least, as Prabhupada says, these four, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Nectar of Devotion, Bhagavad Gita, read those, study those, know those. They will empower our chanting, that ultimately we can really achieve what we're here for, which is to go back home, back to Godhead, and get beyond the realm of liberation. Otherwise, this is as far as you go, which is liberation. I think our time is up, so we'll just stop there, and thank you all very much.
Could I ask a question? No.